Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. I don't know if you've heard, but June is Pride Month. And since this is the beginning of Pride Month, I think we ought to go ahead and observe a couple of things to show just how far society has come since the entire month of June is set aside for this. I think that we ought to celebrate the fact that the great evil of homophobia is no more. You heard me right. Homophobia is gone, resigned to the ash heap of history. Now, of course, this is something that hasn't gotten anywhere near as much attention as it should, but as a result, I think that we ought to go ahead and shine a spotlight on it. Because recently you had a television anchor who decided that he was going to come out as gay on television. And when you actually hear the reasons that this man gave for doing so, well, it shows you that homophobia is indeed dead. And you probably are wondering, why did this man feel the need to do so on television? Why was it so important that he do this on broadcast TV? Well, I don't doubt that this man is sincerely gay. I also know that there was no burning need for him to actually announce it. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, can claim that they're terrified that their parents might not like it or that their people at work are going to get them fired. Whatever social restrictions or social penalties might have gone along with coming out of the closet, that stuff ended back in the 1980s. Because that was the last time that anyone could honestly say that there was some sort of personal backlash to admitting that they were gay. Can you name any media personality, politician, or actor whose career was ruined in the last 35 years because people found out that they were LGBT? I sure can't. It seems like practically every week we got somebody who's saying, oh, by the way, I'm LGBT as well. You got some folks who are not really LGBT, but instead they claim to be some sort of alternate lifestyle simply because they think that it'll get people to talk about them. So this narrative that gay people have to live in the shadows for fear of being found out, it's not true at all, and it hasn't been true in several decades. That's a good thing. It should be celebrated. But instead, this little factoid is ignored. So why did this guy feel the need to do this? Because it's become a means of personal promotion in his case. This guy said that there was some magazine that I'd never even heard of who said that they wanted to have him on the cover of their magazine, and this is an LGBT publication, so the guy was thinking, oh, well, if I'm going to be on the cover of an LGBT magazine, I might as well go ahead and go on television and tell everybody about it. Now, he said that he had already told a number of family and friends that he was LGBT a number of times. So this wasn't the first time he had done this. But he said that the TV station that he worked for heard that he was going to be on the cover of this LGBT magazine, and that they offered him the opportunity to use that station as a platform to publicize this. So as I said, this is not any sort of LGBT equality that this guy was standing up for, because they had that decades ago. He himself admits this was about self-promotion and getting some publicity from the station. All he had to do was say he was LGBT, and that was going to make headlines and get lots of positive publicity. So where's the homophobia at? It's not there. He also said that on their morning show, he and his coworkers strive for authenticity, and I can't preach that without being my authentic self. Okay, so this was an issue of him being true to himself, a question of authenticity. All right, but authentic to what? Authentic how? He never specified what he meant by being authentic. And how does telling people his sexual orientation make him more authentic than he already was? Does it mean that he's been lying about the reporting he's been doing on air up until now? I'm just trying to figure out what the authentic piece means. Speaking of authentic, he also said that he's the son of immigrants. The white media, like these corporations and the government, they prefer to elevate immigrants over black Americans. So why is he or the advocate or anyone else trying to make it seem like this guy was scared or hesitant to make this announcement? Because he himself admits he wasn't. He saw this as an opportunity to get his name out there. Because before this, I didn't know who he was. And I'll bet you probably didn't know either. If anything, he ought to be saying how great it is that he lives in a day and age when simply talking about his sexual orientation is a surefire way to get positive publicity for himself. Kevin Spacey announced his LGBT status when he was in the midst of a horrifying scandal. And he did it because he thought that would be a good way to get good publicity to balance out all the negative press that he was getting. By the way, I hear Wayne Brady's calling himself a pansexual these days, which means, well, I'm not very sure. Whoever this guy is, his sexuality is his business. We can all agree on that. And I'm sure he and the rest of the LGBT advocates would say the same, but if that's the case, that his sexuality is his business and no one else's, why did he feel the need to go on television and announce to the entire world something that nobody cared about? Why did he feel the need to, unprovoked and unsolicited, tell everybody his business? The LGBT community will tell you quickly that their privacy is the most important thing to them, that they want the heterosexual world to keep its noses out of what's going on in their bedrooms. So why did this guy decide that he was going to announce it to the world? What possible purpose was served by him doing this? But he said that he had to do it. He didn't have a choice. Why? Because he was going to be on the cover of this LGBT magazine, that I haven't even heard of, by the way. And because of that, he decided he had no choice but to go on TV and announce it to the world, as opposed to just do his cover story and be fine with that. He said, quote, "This is the most people I've ever come out to at once." So he's already been out of the proverbial closet before, in fact, probably multiple times before now. But he decided to do this on camera. So this is the homophobic American society that I've heard so much about? Rather than this guy trying to low-key pretend as if somehow he's giving some sort of forbidden information, come on, that went out of style a long time ago. This is a day and age when declaring you're LGBT goes from being something that ends your career to being something that boosts it. And shouldn't that be touted from the rooftop? Shouldn't that be celebrated? But there's one more thing that I'd like to add. He said that one of the main reasons he wanted to make this public announcement was because at their station's TV show, they make it a point to be their authentic selves, and he didn't think he was being authentic unless he told the entire world what he does in the bedroom, even if they didn't ask. He reads news stories off of a teleprompter. What the heck does that have to do with him being authentic to anyone? How does his announcement make people take him more seriously or give him credibility somehow? So many black people are only too eager to identify as something else other than black. They want to make sure that their primary identification is something other than black. So they hope the dominant society will see them as something other than black. So they tell everyone that they're biracial or LGBT or an immigrant, like this guy did. Because it's easier to be any of those things than it is to be black. He works in the white media, so he already knows that white media outlets purge themselves of black on-air talent constantly. However, if you're LGBT, you will easily outlast your black coworkers. Coming out as LGBT is a way to extend one's career longevity, certainly a lot more than being black, so in a very real sense, he has a kind of privilege now that goes along with his current status. But for the most part, other than that, nobody cares what he thinks or what he does. And he only has a job until some AI advances to the point where it can have a computer read his teleprompter without sounding like a computer. When that happens, the only authentic thing this guy will be is authentically unemployed. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Stay Positive, Deep Eye 904, Shrampstein, Amir Miller, and Antonio Daniels. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.